When I create these videos, I want to come from a place of being connected in me and connecting with you. Hi, I'm the YouTube master. This video is going to have a combination of some of my stats, some things I've learned maybe, and some things that I still need to learn, and then some of the inner work that I'm having to do inside my brain for being the person that can do this. And if you're watching this video, our inner work stuff comes up, right? Doesn't yours? If you're watching my videos, your inner stuff comes up. If your inner stuff doesn't come up, let me save you some time. We can go find somebody else. Okay, last week. Things I tried. So I get that recap on Tuesday mornings, which is perfect. I wanted to make videos on Mondays, but usually with coaching sessions in the mornings, by Monday afternoon, I'm tired. Then Tuesdays is perfect because often I have empty, and that is a good creative time. I'm a make videos in the mornings kind of gal. That's just what works for me. That's where my creativity and being self-connected is. Last week, I tried a couple different times to go live, and I was coming from the place of, let's get some live hours in and maybe some watch hours, but then it will be a video that can go in a feed. And I thought, what's the best way for me to do that? And I thought, I will do that with maybe reading some chapters of my book. And that was a complete disaster. I noticed that I was more self-conscious. I've gone live on other platforms, and what I like about going live is engaging with people. And I did see somebody say that if you're going to go live on YouTube and you don't really have a lot of people to engage with, and there's not a big crowd of people, then go ahead and go live with a video that you would just leave up. And then you get the live views and the rewatch views. Yeah, I'm going to have to practice that. We'll see. I will try again. In other platforms, I love going live. I like being able to connect with my audience. If you're here, say hi. And look at this cute thing that I made. I also saw someone say, of course, I can't find it. Oh, here it is. Look at this cute thing I made. I saw somebody say, it was like, hi, I'm the YouTube master. They didn't say this. But here are the 11 things I did that you should do to be great at YouTube. I'll get to that in a minute. And they're like, first of all, never ask anybody to subscribe, because notice that the masters don't do that. Why not? Okay, my little thing said you did 8 videos last week, and I was like, 8 videos? How did I do 8 videos? 2 of them were the live streams that I did end up deleting. I think I had one comment and watch on there. Thank you. And at one point I was going, and then I just totally freaked out and abruptly stopped. But I actually did publish with intention 6 videos. That's a lot. I cannot normally keep that. And let me break that down for you. I did want to do, as I have this playlist for my book, I wanted to at least start the playlist with a couple of chapters, right? I read the intro and the forward because they're just juicy. And then the second one is I read the first 2 chapters. Part of why I did that was not only, hey, we can talk about the book on here and we can actually share some of the wisdom from the book, but I needed to be the person that heard my own book. And a lot of times, maybe that sounds weird, but a lot of times I open up my own book to get some of my own wisdom to help me remember who I am. So I did that content last week. It was actually really fun. It was fun to set up a way to do it. I do have to, because you're using a book and words, I have to flip the video, and there were some things in there, but I think I've come up with a system. Now I probably should document it. I would do well to document it so that I remember every week. And that's one of my things, is having an ADHD system, like being autistic and ADHD. And the way to think about that, I think this is such a great analogy, is that like an ADD person has piles everywhere, and an autistic person is very neat and orderly, but an ADD person who's also autistic has piles everywhere, and each pile is super neat. And I'm like that. Like I have buckets of time, of space, of ways of doing things. And those buckets are very orderly, but what happens in the bucket is very ADD and all over the place, which is a little bit of a struggle for me right now. So I did 2 book. I did one what I call like core content. That one is the remember video. I think got a handful of views this week. That's good. I did 2 videos, what I call like core content from repurposing content. What I do is I actually have tons of podcast episodes that we live streamed when we recorded them. And I've been taking some of that content that still feels really congruent and aligned. And I've been just sitting with it, A, listening to it to help me remember, and B, if there's something really good in it, pulling it out to create videos. Then I had 2 that I meant to be shorts. I very specifically waited until the October 15th. Now that shorts are allowed to be a little bit longer than a minute. They were under 3 minutes, and clearly I don't have that on my channel yet. I actually just uploaded a few more today that technically would fall under the 3 minutes, and they're showing up as videos, not shorts. But yeah, a couple of those were meant to be shorts, and then I had one intentional short that got me a lot of views, and I got a lot of watch time and a handful of subscribers this week. My overall numbers are up 5 subscribers this week to 395. My views, this is where I got confused because I know that there are views and then there's watch time, but then there are watch hours, public watch hours that accumulate towards your eligibility for monetization. My views, it's weird. My phone YouTube studio and my desktop say slightly different things. Last week it was 5.6 and it says it's down to 5.4. So that's over the last 28 days. So maybe there was more watchers 29 days ago. I don't know. I'm not going to worry too much about it. Watch time up 63.3 hours from 50. And then none of that shows like to go and find how many public watch hours I have towards the monetization journey. This is the hardest part because I feel so far away. It's like on TikTok, I have 12,000 followers. And I have followers on all these other but this is new for me, so it's challenging. It's challenging my self-doubt and my mindset. And that's just part of life. I don't consider myself a victim of that, by the way, whenever I share anything that I struggle with behind the scenes. If I'm sharing my struggles, I don't share all of them, but if I share my struggles, you know I'm doing okay because that means I have hope. And I share my struggles because I think other people need to see what happens behind the scenes. Otherwise, they're holding themselves to bullshit expectations. So my monetizing, you have to go to the earn section and then it tells you your eligibility. And there's 2 things for eligibility. I need to do a little research on those, but it says I have 139 hours out of 4,000 that I need in a year's time. I don't think I'll have any problem getting the 1,000 subscribers. Now, can we get people to watch me? That's where self-doubt comes in. Okay. Let's take a sip of water. I don't want to get too hung up on the numbers, but it's also like when you track something, I do feel committed. And I will say that this week during my doubt, my commitment versus my interest, my commitment has kept me coming back. I like the intention of, as far as long form video, doing 2 videos a week. I did think it would be a fun experiment. I use VIDIQ and also YouTube Studio. YouTube Studio makes these suggestions. It's starting to get my audience and my people and my algorithm and stuff like that. And it could be a fun experiment if once a week I made a video about the suggested topics and see what happens. No promises yet, but I'm considering that. Okay, so that's strategy. That's technical things. Yeah. The antidote to self-doubt is taking messy action. Last week was definitely messy action, and I had the time and space and I made extra videos. Right now, making videos is mostly fun for me. The other piece around making videos, and the other thing that also came up in my whole business rebloom as I intentionally come back in with the intention of growth, regrowth, and expansion. Like I had a major cutback in the last few years, but I cannot leave the fact that I am ADHD and autistic. And those two diagnoses came out 1 and 2 years ago. 1 and 2 years ago, I had a heart attack and a hysterectomy, and those were things that you heal from and then you get better from. And I had this realization this week, and I was like, Allison, as I go back into business, I there was a point where I was like, I don't have to talk about being autistic or ADHD. Just because I am doesn't mean that's not my niche. I'm not an expert in those things. I'm still figuring out who I am. But I did have the realization I can't pretend like those aren't there. I can't leave that behind. That's not something I'll ever heal from. And in fact, if I am going to rebloom my business, or if I am going to monetize my YouTube, because I am autistic and have ADHD, part of what didn't work in life before, with all the unconscious masking I was doing, was that I had some systems and accessibility. I had some standard operating procedures. And my friend Briar, I saw her speak about accessibility for people with neurodivergence in corporations or in businesses and stuff. And it made me realize oh, here I am at 50 something years old, coming up with my own standard operation procedures. And a lot of those, I didn't necessarily think about setting those, but they're just the way I do things. They're just the way I do things. One of the things I'm figuring out here as we make and publish videos, and as I choose to learn new things and I choose to get better, both in my external creations here and in my internal being here, is to recognize that A, I can't leave that, and B, what can I do to make it easy and fun? What are my systems? Which, if you know anything about autism and ADD, is that you always have this struggle between the ADD parts of you that want the dopamine, that want it to be fun and exciting and new, and then the autism side of you, and they're not separate sides, they're all just mixed in together. The autism nervous system thrives in structure and support, which can get I'm working on systems. I bought one of those gimbals for walk and talks or going places. I really like it once I'm recording. But to get my phone set up there and to open up the app, I'd actually like to record all of my videos in the app that works with my gimbal. But it only works if it's on the gimbal, which is annoying as all get out. And then also having to have my phone loaded up on the gimbal. Obviously, the software all works together. I just feel like I'm fumbling with a lot of things. And it's irritating. And in the past, I've been wanting to record in 4K. I don't know why, just to show you all my almost 53-year-old self. But I've been wanting to record in 4K, but I don't want to buy a new camera. I have two 1080p webcams. And in the past, I had a whole setup where one had the webcam, and then I would do art and draw on a split screen. And my friend Cindy Ingram did a video last week where she was, I think her page is called Art and Self. I'll tag it below, but she was talking about this journal exercise and art, and then she put up the split screen. And I used to be able to do that when I was teaching on Zoom classes. And so I got out my arm and I was like, oh, I can record from my external webcam, and then I can bring this arm and put my iPhone on there. And then I open up OBS and I don't know how to use this. Then I'm like, maybe I can use StreamYard and oh, we can use this and you can use it from your iPhone. And so I'm thinking, oh, great, I can use it from my iPhone. And it says download this. And I do all this other stuff. And yesterday it was just like juggling 300. I was like, this is not going to work for me. And it was frustrating, but from the frustration comes desire. I desire to have 3 simple setups. I desire to have a sit down at my desk setup. This is where I'm physically most comfortable. I desire to have a good walk and talk, mobile, outdoor kind of thing set up. And I desire to have a good 2-camera setup. And it's just a matter of experience. Time on task builds trust. Y'all realize that? Hi, my whole thing, if my whole thing is self-trust. And there's a lot of inner work to do with self-trust, but also self-trust comes from time on task. Trust is not something that is airy-fairy out of the sky, but trust is something we build through time on task. And I just need to give myself a little grace for letting it be at the messy beginning. Are you at the messy beginning? How did you handle your messes and frustrations? And I'm sure that this forum is one of those places where it's easy to compare our invisible experience and our inner insides to other people's finished products. And I cognitively know better. I wrote down here need for systems and then also just a little frustration around skill regression, which is a whole nother midlife thing. Because absolutely in menopause, you can have some like memory gaps and skill regression, but it's also a neurodivergent thing. And I've been experiencing a lot of skill regression. Those things can be built back up. And a lot of them, as I am present to being the me that I am today, instead of stepping back into old outfits of Allison that used to work, which part of my system really craves because they work. They were effortless. And there's so much effort inside and out for me now, which is new for me. I have to have so much compassion for the skill regression or just the ping pong balls going off in my brain. Yeah. So realizing that I have needs, this is a part of the whole thing. I have needs. And part of what not knowing that I was ADD and autistic was that I internalized all those as something wrong with me instead of realizing I need some external support. I need systems. I need ways of doing things. And I thrive when I'm able to have my standard operating procedures. And so right now I'm just creating new ones and letting it be a little messy. And then the last piece in here that I think is interesting, this one is an internal world thing. And y'all know, y'all watch all the videos just like I do. I think it's good. I love to learn. There's a part of me that loves to learn and I'm fascinated and I want to implement. And then other parts of me get really activated because I don't want to do it that way, or I don't feel like certain things align with my values. And in business in general, there are things that work that go against my core values. There are things that work. And so there is a distinction between what is my goal, what is your goal. Is the goal to be popular? And monetization comes through some versions of popularity. Because listen, monetization doesn't come through the number of videos. I don't know how many videos I have. I have tons of videos. I think I looked up and it was like, you've had a YouTube channel for 15 years. But I was never intentional about it. I just dumped stuff there. A lot of live recordings ended up being there because that was one of the feeds. And so, no, after 15 years, I've never been monetized. I've never been viral or popular. I know that there are a lot of creators out here wanting to make not just the best video for you, but they're wanting to make a video that works. And this is nuance for me in everything I do, and it's exhausting. But it's just, yeah. For example, my most viral video that I have ever done has 250,000 views. It's on TikTok, and it was a video about how I had a heart attack. But that's not my niche, right? I see things like double down on what works. Yeah, that was popular, but I don't want to double down on heart attack stories. I'm not a heart attack channel. And I know that of the things that I've posted outside of Facebook for me, on TikTok, even YouTube, the one on YouTube that has the most videos is the one of me taking off all my clothes. I was like, oh, let's go take that video and see if we can repurpose that. And it just doesn't resonate with me anymore. But the whole reason I was wanting to take it, because I was like, oh, it's got that edge because she's taking off all of her clothes. And I thought it was funny. And maybe I was, but that was over 10 years ago. And I just feel so far from that woman now. It doesn't feel congruent with this process here and now. I wrote down drama, right? I get in my head because I know that algorithms love emotion and they love drama. And that's what hooks and titles are all about, right? Hooks and titles. I would like to get good at hooks and titles and thumbnails and video descriptions in a genuinely and authentic to me, compelling way with a little bit of skill. I can feel that through my whole body because, and this is very common, I think, also for many bottom up thinkers. This is also very common for other neurodivergent people, is we have to do it our way. Like just because there's a formula, there are pieces in that formula. I wish I had one of those things that like blew up your hair. There are pieces in that formula that just, I'm not here to manipulate you. I don't want to manipulate myself. I don't want to manipulate me. I even heard somebody today, oh my God, he was saying this is a business strategy. We don't need your authenticity. My body is not able to do that. And I'm sure it damages my bottom line. Absolutely positive it damages. Or maybe it raises my bottom line. That's what my podcast producer would say. She's always so good at helping me spin it. The drama gets in my head. Shock value. Listen, if there's real shock value and it's authentic shock value, that morning I woke up, I was like, I just got home from the hospital for 3 days. I had a heart attack. But that was genuine. And that was born out of my genuine desire for midlife women to really pay attention to heart attack symptoms because they're not like stereotypical men heart attack situations. Let me reset. If you watch this far, thank you so much. Say hi in the comments. I did today have an experience where I realized I had a lot of self-doubt over the last couple of weeks about YouTube specifically. Other things I was doing great in, but YouTube, I was like, why are you putting all this time and energy a part of me? And on the way home from a meeting this morning, that my nervous system was just a little overwhelmed and in social anxiety. I just couldn't wait to get back to my office and make YouTube videos. I just couldn't wait to get back to my office and make these videos for you and for me. Remembering that one of the things that has worked, that it is good for me to reach back, is sharing some of this behind the scenes stuff. I think before last week, I had this fantasy about this professional version of Allison that shows up on YouTube and is seen as a thought leader. And I just caught myself with so much love and a little bit of gagging on the side of, that is not you, Allison. There are things that have worked in your world since the beginning of time, since I've been a little kid. There are things that energize us and things that deplete us. And what's on my I have this little YouTube book. I have my little YouTube thing. And this week in here, I made this little journal page. And these were just little nuggets that I all put on one page. Attract the right aligned eyes. Reinvent not only yourself, but also your business, relationship with my business, and the business that I am implementing and loving on and nourishing now. I must acknowledge that this business is being rebuilt in the context of somebody who is now 52 years old, who is dealing with the health things that come with peri and menopause, that come with midlife, that come post heart attack, and that autism and ADD and having those neurotypes and nervous systems and brains, that those are just the context in this world. I wrote down curiosity and creativity. The antidote to self-doubt is messy action. When I write or share difficult emotions, I'm not experiencing myself as a victim. I'm a human experiencing difficulties that take lots of mental load. And a part of my work in the world that has gone through all of my career, whether I was a camp counselor at 18 years old, or a teacher, or a hardcore sales coach, or the coach that I've been, or the author that I am, is normalizing some of the difficulty. I'm like the anti-airbrush girl. I called on my angels and my ancestors this week. I wrote, I do like myself. I wrote to remember that when I create these videos, I want to come from a place of being connected in me and connecting with you as I create content. I also saw the phrase magnificent me, and I wrote that down. So yeah, that's week 3.